Hello, today was my first day of class at UCL. I started a week late because my visa just came late. It definitely heavily shifted my energy. I also did trim my hair like a bit because it was looking kind of frumpy and weird, so I feel like that shifted my energy. Completely unimportant, but I keep trying to grow my hair out really long, and then I keep being like, maybe I'm just out of my long hair phase now. Like maybe I'm like professional girl with like mid-length hair. I don't know. I had really long hair growing up. My mom has really long hair. My sister has really long hair. But the thing is that my hair is probably like three times thicker than theirs. It's like crazy thick. So I feel like it just gets weighed down. And now I cut it and it's kind of like wavy and cute. So anyways, that's not important. The point is that my energy shifted heavily today in a lot of different ways. I was actually I had like a very frazzled first day of class because I don't know, I was late. All the buildings, like I was like, where are they? It's kind of hard to find the buildings at UCL, to be honest, because I don't know, maybe I just don't know enough, but I was like, where are these some of these places? I was like, where on earth? Because they're just on the side of the street. Like it's not like a super close campus, you know? I did a few important things today. Wait, let me take my student ID. Wait, let me show you. I did something in the middle of my stats class, which is that I actually emailed the researcher who wrote the study on the unified model of learning and something, the one that I've literally referenced in like pretty much every single video because I've heavily like just learned from them, relied on that study. And I was asking ChatGPT, like, how do I find the code for this? Like, if I wanted to recreate it exactly, like, what would I do? And it said there's not an open source code for like that specific one. It offered me another one that did also have replay and was like readily available, but it wasn't as good, like to be honest. It's not that it wasn't as good, but it didn't have some of the really important elements that were important to me. So I did end up emailing one of the researchers, who hopefully they respond quick because um, I really, really want it. And I also like I have a meeting soon. Let's see if I can. I'm either gonna reschedule that to next week or maybe I'll reschedule that to next week just so I can maybe have that element to it. Yeah, literally the most frazzled day. My laptop died in the middle of my stats class. Oh wait. Let me just update you on everything school related. My laptop did die in the middle of stats class, but the fun thing is that I also switched into intermediate statistics, which I wasn't expecting, but apparently intermediate statistics in my course is just normal statistics, like the same class, but with this coding element. Like they're going to teach you how to use a certain type of coding language that you use to do statistics. And I was like, you know what? If that's the only difference, I'd happily learn it. And, my little manifestation, little like mindset is that if there's something that it's like this, like you have to create a path of least resistance for the things that you want like to come into your life, my little like silly thought process. So if there's something that I could have that would almost like decrease the friction between me and the life that I want, then I should do that thing, right? So for example, if I want to be doing a lot of my own research and being like, one day I want to be like a big researcher doing lots of research, like I should decrease the friction into that life by basically diminishing by adding something that makes me more likely to slip into that life. It's almost like you want to like slip into the life, by creating like making it aerodynamic. I know like when you put it in like that silly kind of language, it sounds like what are you talking about? But I feel like in practice, I feel like that's just a really practical mentality. Like obviously like that would increase my chances of having the life that I want. But anyway, so I'm thinking intermediate statistics now. But when I was in oh wait, no, it was actually not in my statistics class that I was writing all this. It was in my developmental psychology class, which was really nice. I liked it. Developmental psychology is one of my favorite types of psychology. I was really just listening, but at the end we were sort of done and I just got this little wave of inspiration. And okay, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place right now because just got back home from the day and I'm like unpacking everything from the day. So I'm just like, I don't know. I kind of had fun today. I enjoyed myself, even though I was really frazzled. But basically, my laptop died half partly through my statistics class, and then I went to charge it. But the thing is that the two classes are literally back to back. Like, you leave class, you have like 10 minutes to walk to your next class. and I didn't have time to charge up my laptop, and they don't have outlets in like the area. The reason I didn't charge my laptop at lunch is because there was no outlets in my area, like around me, so I couldn't even charge it. But anyways, so I just got this little notebook. I actually had already purchased notebooks for school. I didn't end up bringing them today because I was like, oh, just take notes on my laptop. Bad idea. Next time I'm bringing all of my notebooks. So it was like just a really cheap notebook, but it's cute because it's pink. Look at that. It's like all my little developmental psychology notes. I was learning about all the different cognitive changes in adolescence. We learned about emotional regulation. We learned about how important it is to be socially included. I like have good social life as a young person. I thought this was pretty interesting. Wait, let me tell you guys. Basically, social exclusion activates brain areas linked to physical pain, and social stress literally induces an inflammatory response. That's pretty interesting. Anyways, yes, I learned about types of interventions. This I also really thought was interesting about universal versus targeted approach. So in a universal approach, you basically create a mental health, like sort of a mental health, you sort of create a mental health like solution that would literally shift everybody in a group, like fix everybody's like fix the issue for everybody at once, even people that don't necessarily need it per se, to create an environment that fosters that. And then you get a targeted approach where you basically only shift people that are high risk individuals, so people that actually have like a mental illness. None of this is the point. The point is that in my really cute pink notebook, let me show you. Yes, I basically wrote the whole little layout for my neural network and how it's going to be now. So I'm going to open a document, and that's the only thing I'm going to write today. Because I want to wait now. I'm a little bit frazzled right now because I have like a lot of stuff to do for like everything right now. I have a lot of stuff to do for my real job. I was a week late, so now I have to watch all of my like lectures that were recorded. So I'm quite behind right now, but I guess I want to make some space for that, but I did want to write this, and then I guess I'll wait a little bit until I basically find, like, hopefully those researchers, they better respond to me. They better freaking respond to me. Just kidding, but I really do need that, and I'm gonna be really sad if I have to use somebody else's, so they better respond to me. Just kidding. There's some kind of fountain of youth situation going on in London because I have been shocked. Everybody I speak to, them like, this person's definitely my age. Like, they definitely have to be like 24, 25. Literally, since I moved here, I've had the situation, like, no lie, at least 5 times. And I haven't even spoken to that many people. So it's like a big group of people that this has happened with. I start interacting with them. I think they've got to be like my age. And then we get into conversation. It literally, no lie, it goes pretty much the exact same way every time. I say, how old are you? Thinking that they're probably my age. And then I've made a new friend. I'm like, great, now I made a new friend. This is fun. And they say, guess how old I am. And I'm like, I don't know, how old are you? And they're like, literally, they're always anywhere from 30 to like 36. And then I'm shocked because they look nowhere near that age. It's happened to me like multiple times. It's crazy. I'm like, oh, like I can't meet anyone my age because everyone in London is too freaking youthful and beautiful and baby faced. Everyone is so annoying. It's so irritating. I'm like, why are all of you people freaking 35 and you look like you're 22? Like, what? What is happening? So I basically never make friends because everyone is like kind of way too old for me. And then I feel stupid because I'm like, I'm 24. Like, ugh, it's so annoying. I've yet to make a single friend my age. It's so irritating. I was really inspired today, actually. I was writing like a lot and stuff. I think it was really good for me to be in a school environment. I was even making I made a new playlist. I was like, oh, I haven't made a playlist like this since I was like literally back at school. Like, I feel like being at school, it inspires my playlists more. I don't know why that is, but definitely does. I don't know what I'm gonna call this. I'm just gonna call it I'm gonna call it brainstorm, and it's just gonna be like method to result. Being in stats was actually inspiring me a lot because I was thinking about the fact we're gonna write all this down. I was gonna say also, and it's not that I think I came off maturely today, but I do think I said literally in my very first video, like in this playlist, I said that even though obviously I do think I look like in my 20s. Like I'm like 20, what, 24. I keep forgetting I'm 24 because I just turned 24 a few weeks ago. I'm 24. I feel like I have a more adult energy than that, because I definitely feel like I do. I'm not trying to, but I said in it, I literally feel like I'm 35, which is not a good thing, but I feel like I'm already like in that mentality, you know? And so then I think I end up talking to people, and then it's like I have a somewhat older energy, and I feel like I don't even know. But it's really annoying. Like I haven't made any friends my age. And I've been dying to have friends my age, but it's just not meant to be. I make friends with old people a lot too. It's kind of crazy. Like not I'm not I hate saying like old people because it sounds like derogatory almost, but like people that are much older than me. Like I literally have multiple friends that are like genuinely friends. Like we speak like friends. I call them regularly, whatever. And they're in their like, I don't even know, like 70s, 60s. I'll just be making friends with anybody, honestly. If they're cool, I like them. Like, I feel like if someone's cool, they're just cool. I don't really care at all. Like, I would just be friends with them. And I don't feel weird. Like, I'm not like, why am I hanging out with someone who's like much, much older than me? Like, I enjoy it. Like, I genuinely see them as like, I enjoy having conversation with them, and they're cool people. Like, I learn from them and stuff. Sometimes I feel awkward because I'm younger, but like, it's not awkward. Like, I literally have multiple friends like that. I think one of them obviously sees me as a young person. Like she calls me little girl. Like it's obviously like she's almost like a family member to me, but we used to go get coffee all the time when I was back at school. And then there's someone in my life who she's I actually don't know how old she is exactly, but she literally has the most youthful and cool energy. She's got like cool girl energy to me, but she's like a bit older, but I literally look up to her so much. Like she's so cool. She just traveled and just like lives her life, and she has like the coolest stories. I'm like, what? She literally is a cool girl. She's like what I aspire to be when I am older, to be honest with you. So for my actual neural network, this is what I wrote down today. I wrote, write plasticity rules from Junk et al. You will have them. I will. I've been manifesting it. Like they will send it to me. They will. They have to, because I don't want to use anybody else's stuff. Okay, so this is just like a little brainstorm. So method section. So that's going to include, so those plasticity rules, and then it's going to include like all the different parts of the hippocampus that I'm using. And it's going to include the pararhinal cortex. Oh, no. Well, obviously the plasticity rules are going to be the regular ones, but then there's going to be a different plasticity rule for high stress. So that's something I need to add. That's something that is going to be a bit harder, but we have to come up with that ourselves. The problem is I trust ChatGPT less as time goes on, because it has proven itself to be not horrible. It's good, but it's also like it doesn't really do what it needs to do sometimes. And I don't know how to write a plasticity rule. So I'm just going to explain what it needs to do, and then let's see how we go from there. But it's not awful. Like it can do certain things, but it was messing up a lot more in my thing than I thought. It was getting some things very right and some things very wrong, and that kind of stressed me out. And then here we go. This is going to be like my computational model, which obviously would still be in the method section, but I'm just going to write it here just as like a separate thing. I think the other reason I'm feeling really animated right now, and it's also because I'm dead exhausted. Like I woke up at like 7 in the morning, obviously to get to school, and then I was running around all day in like high stress because I was like, where is everything? I was so exhausted. So it's like that kind of, when you're so tired, you get energized. So, okay, obviously, so before what I was having to do is basically say that they were in, like, for example, the cage. But now the cage is just going to be represented. It's going to be represented by a spot on a 1D line, just exactly the same as the other study has. Okay, because they already have play cells, they already have everything. So all of that is staying the same. I'm just going to have them move from place to place, and we have to do some thinking about how that's going to look. And it's going to have what else? It's going to have replay. It's going to have all the everything, pyramidal cells, etc. And that's going to be modified for the rat neuron count. So that's differing from theirs a little bit, but I don't think that's a crazy change. Like, I don't think that's going to be a massive change in terms of what they already have. And then obviously encoding and consolidation, that is already existing. And then this is the thing, is that this is going to have to be my own thing, is that these these timelines or whatever, there's going to be an ACH gating mechanism, and that's a me thing. That's going to be my own thing. I feel like, honestly, of all the things that I feel like are okay about my neural network, that one was so simple that I think it's pretty already pretty good. Like, the idea is pretty simple. It just starts consolidating once it gets to a certain point. So I'm just gonna link it like that. I'm gonna see how we can do that when it comes to their study and what they already have, because I'm assuming they're sending it to me, I hope. Or like not their study, but their information. And then this is the thing I have to add, which is scary because I have to read. I'm gonna read I'm gonna read some computational models, and then we have to figure out how that's gonna happen. I don't think I spelled that right. Pararhinal. Yes, okay. So then I spelled it wrong here, but they didn't catch me on it. And then obviously those like plasticity, like what's it called? Hebbian rules, like plasticity, I don't know. So essentially LT long-term potentiation. This is like the new stuff. This is the new stuff. And then this is gonna be this, they already have that. That's already in their study, I think. And then my addition is going to be so that there's like a secondary plasticity sort of rule that once it gets to a certain, once it gets, again, we have to think maybe prolonged stress equals different plasticity. Okay, this is a thing, is that I think I'm going to take everything else away. Like, for example, anything that's like, for example, usually, technically speaking, I think that if something's more arousing, it would encode first. And I think I'm not going to include that at all, even though it's true. And it's something that I can look at later. And I'm going to mention it too in my paper, but I want to keep it simple enough for me to do right now. And I don't want to get too much with it. You know, I want to keep it simple. So I think this is going to be it. And so then basically bound memories will equal like it's going to be like a pattern of like a location on a 1D line. That's going to obviously be like the where. And then it's going to be combined with some information from the pararhinal cortex, which I need to figure out how that would work. That's going to be the what. This pararhinal, I don't know. This is the one that needs serious research. We're going to write here, needs research. No, I don't like the capitals. They're giving me stress. Needs, no, I don't. Yeah, you know what? I like it. Okay, needs research from myself, not like an overall, but from me. We're going to see how other computational models have incorporated that. And then obviously then the last thing is going to be temporal sequencing. Look how fancy I'm getting. I'm actually proud of myself because I didn't know any of this a year ago, and now I'm talking like a neuroscientist. That's crazy. Okay, so that's going to be like the hippocampal sharp wave ripple. See, I wanted to be, you see the manifestation in action. I wanted to be a freaking neuroscientist. I was like, I will learn, I will research, and now I'm talking like a neuroscientist. I basically am one at this point. I haven't published yet, but essentially I am one, because this is all like, this is kind of crazy. Like, I'm actually doing it, and I actually am starting to speak like a neuroscientist and think like a neuroscientist and act like a neuroscientist and write like a neuroscientist and everything, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's so fun. So yeah, the temporal sequencing also is included. It's just going to be like how they play back. Are they going to play back in the right order? I do feel pretty strongly though that the arousal should like probably impact this. But you know what I might do is I'm gonna see what happens when I just change up those plasticity rules, and like what happens then. Let's see. I don't know. Actually, here's the next thing, is that I started thinking, because I was in stats class and I was like, oh my gosh, I was thinking about this so much today. I was like, I actually have to get statistics from this paper. Like, I have to actually do this myself, which is insane. And I'm not even I was like, it's good I'm in stats class now, because hopefully that'll give me inspiration, and it has been so far. But okay, so basically I was like, what are the things that I need to, like, what do I even need to, this is gonna be, okay, results, obviously. If you're not a scientist, basically usually in the papers, the method section is just an explanation of everything that you're doing in the paper, like or like what your experiment's going to include. This is the funny thing, is that results are just straight up like just the numbers. And then there's another section called a discussion section where you actually explain what's happening in the numbers. So in this section, I just need to basically explain, like, what are just the hardcore, like, what's the statistical analysis, what are my numbers, what's everything of my paper. So this part gives me stress. These two parts give me so much stress. I'm not stressing about it too bad yet, because I'm stressed enough about, like, will this thing work? But also this is the part that makes me nervous to write, because I haven't done this before, and I don't really feel like I think like this yet, but you see, I have to act like I do. So these are the things I was like, I need to probably do statistical analysis on these questions for my project. Um, how close to the correct version of the memory is the output? This is the interesting thing, okay? I actually asked ChatGPT too. I actually asked ChatGPT what kind of statistical analyses did these other researchers run, because I was just curious. And like I said, I've learned a lot from looking at their information. And obviously, I've done research as a research assistant, but I've never done anything computational neuroscience. So I was like, what kind of things do people need to know? Like, obviously in a normal sort of, what's the word? Like a normal sort of psychological study, I'd want to see, like, comparing the two different groups and stuff, which I'm going to do that too, because my paper is kind of a bit of both, which I think is pretty unique. But um, I I'm gonna have to do like a little bit of everything. So, but I think that'll actually play together very well. So I asked, what are some of the statistical analyses that they ran? So they actually already have that same thing that I'm asking. So how will the replay sequence match the order of the stored exploration sequence? So we're gonna copy paste this, because I was like, this is kind of already what I'm asking, and they have like a formula and etc. Some of their other things are not going to be, maybe I should still say them. I don't know. Because I think mine is a little bit not bizarre, but it's a little different, because even though I am making a computational model, so I do need to understand stuff about the computational model and talk about the qualities of the computational model. Mine is also an experiment. I'm also running just a straight up experiment with that model. So what's interesting is that I do need actually both kind of qualities to my results and my discussion section, which is a really big task for someone who has done none of that. So it's been pretty nerve-wracking, but I'm just gonna keep trusting, because it's been growing. Like, this is really crazy that I'm doing this, and I'm pretty shocked by myself, to be honest. So they already had like kind of a same thing. Like, they were already asking the same question of theirs. So I guess I'll just keep, like, if it works for them, it works for me, though who knows, maybe I should change that up. And then from that, I obviously can sort of answer questions like, does this say anything about fragmentation, maybe? And maybe in this context, it wouldn't. That's something I need to think about. Like, maybe it's two different questions too. That's like a question I have for myself. Like, I think it's like a learning thing. And then these are other questions that I think would be maybe good to answer in my results section. So what is the ideal amount of sharp wave ripples? How many did my network get in comparison in each group? And is there a statistically significant difference? If you're not a stats person, that basically means, is that different enough to say that it actually happened, or is it kind of like a happy accident, So I think the reason I was thinking this exact thing, look how school is inspiring me. You know what? This part might not be as hard as I think, because I also, even though I don't have cognitive neuroscience friends, but I do have a lot of very, very smart STEM friends who are good at doing statistics. So I could at least ask them for assistance on that part if necessary. The funny thing is, by the time I'm done with this, I'm literally gonna have to be writing a paper for my class. So we're just back to back writing papers this year. Look at this little, to call it a regression here. I just learned today. Look at this nice little regression. I was just taking notes on this morning. Obviously, maybe it's going to be more complex than this. I was feeling better because the professor was saying in class that a lot of people who are like researchers in psychology also get this stuff wrong all the time. So I was like, thank you. Thank God for that. But yes, or like not this specifically, but like many things. But something like this, right? So how many sharp wave ripples would I have in an ideal situation? And then how many did I actually get in each one? And what does that maybe say about the how well my how well my actual model is constructed, but then also does that actually tell me something about trauma too? Because obviously I'm thinking, and I saw in my little messy little abstracted like sort of not imperfect version of what I'm gonna do, that I did get like less sharp wave ripples for the higher stress group, so the one where the acetylcholine went down later. I need to think about how to frame that exactly, because the point isn't, it's not necessarily important that they made. ChatGPT kept getting me on this, and it was really annoying. But obviously the point isn't that there's something wrong with the brain that they make less sharp wave ripples. The point is that they overall have less sharp wave ripples because they started consolidating later. So I don't know. I'll think about how to frame that. But obviously, if they're making significantly less sharp wave ripples in the same like time, then that's pointing to what I'm talking about, right? And then, or they're making none is really probably what would happen. And then the next question is there some difference because of how many sharp wave ripples? That sounds confusing. Let me explain. Like, is it really because of binding? So let me remember what I meant by this. I meant something like this. So let's say the memory is impacted. Like let's say I get impacted replay. Is the impacted replay actually a quality of some plasticity or binding issue? Or is it like maybe some quality of like I don't know. Actually, you know what? I think that's not going to be an issue, but I just want to make sure that I touch on this is a thing, is that you have to touch on a lot of stuff like this from what I see. Anything that someone could say, well, maybe it's because of a different reason. Like, are you sure it's actually because of that? Like, you want to target anything like that. Like, you want to make sure that you grab, like, you sort of answer any of the holes that people could try to like come at you with, is what what I'm gathering essentially. Okay, I should make a little hypothesis just here for me to remember later. I guess maybe impacted plasticity because of high arousal will lead to less impact sort of replay, something like that. But that's a work in progress. Okay, next. This is my last kind of question. For now, obviously there's gonna be more things to respond to, but some kind of measure of proportion. I don't know what I wish I had explained more about what this is, because now I'm forgetting. This seems like the same question again, but I don't think that it was when I wrote it. That doesn't even make any sense. I'm gonna leave it in case I remember somehow why I was even, because this was actually something that was important in my head at the time, but I don't remember what I was trying to say. Okay, that's it for now. Hello, I have my first meeting with somebody today to show them this, and I wanted to show you one thing I thought of last night that I just feel like I should add, or that I've been thinking about. Still haven't heard anything back from those researchers, but and then I'm gonna maybe ruin your day or give you something to ruminate about today that isn't really like, it's obviously not provable or anything, but it's just a thought that I had one time and I thought it was really trippy and that maybe somebody would appreciate it. So first of all, let's go into my thing. Okay, so first I'm also gonna add, I also thought last night, like, why am I not adding the amygdala? Because I read more about, let's learn how to say it. Okay, that's right. Yes, the perirhinal cortex. I was reading about it and just thinking about like the feasibility of adding that, what would it look like, etc. And I haven't really come to conclusions yet. I'm actually nervous about that. But then I was like, you know what? The thing I really need is actually just almost like an emotional reaction to what's going on, less of like, I'm not really that focused on whether they sort of comprehend what they see, which is what the perirhinal cortex is supposed to be about. Like, can these fake mice, can they understand what they're looking at? If anything, it would be a very abstracted version of that. Like, I don't really need the full mechanisms of that. But what I really need is for them to have almost like an emotional reaction. But That's actually something to think about. So I'm gonna come back to that. But I was like, I probably should have that, but do I need the parietal cortex still? We'll think about that some more. But I was just thinking about that last night. And then let me tell you my very trippy thought. Okay, so I used to teach when I was back at college, I needed a work like a work what's called again, work study job. So basically a job through my university that they just give you to sort of pay part of your tuition, but my tuition was already paid for, so it was just for me to make some money on the side essentially. And I got a job to basically teach a GED like computer skills class, but I guess they didn't need that anymore. So they had me teaching a math and science class, but it was like a very elementary one. So it was like for adults that hadn't necessarily gotten their degrees yet, and we were doing very almost like elementary-ish to middle schoolish sort of math and science. So I was teaching like fractions and stuff like that, multiple like I don't even remember now, like long division. And then I was teaching just really basic science. But one time I was trying to teach my students about cells, and I drew this picture on the board, and then it had me thinking for the rest of the day. So now I'm gonna make you think about it. Okay, so I basically drew a picture on the board. I will draw it again, but I don't have a board. But basically, it had a picture. I was trying to explain that, okay, so cells are the smallest, sort of the smallest building block of life, right? But then cells also have these sort of organelles, if I'm remembering correctly, that have all of them have different purpose, right? And then the cells also have a purpose. And then you put the cells together, you put all the cells together, and they become organs, right? And so then I was showing them this. I was kind of showing them how like the organelles are to the cell, like organs are to the body. And then I was looking at it and I was like, it's kind of like the same thing keeps expanding over and over again. So then obviously like the cells build and then they have like this bigger place in the human body, right? Okay, this is my very trippy thought, which I just thought was interesting. I was like, I'd never shared this with anybody, but I was just thinking about this so much. I started thinking, why do we assume that it stops there? Why do we assume that it stops at this point and it's like, okay, now it's done? I started thinking, what if just like cells, okay, I know this is so trippy and random. I was just like, let me trip somebody out today. What if just like cells are a small piece of our body and they all like this is the thing is that cells are not conscious that they're cells. Cells are just going about their day. And the thing is that they have a deep purpose to them, right? Each of them has a deep and special purpose to their life that they're not necessarily what was I thinking? How was I thinking it back then? They're not aware of the fact that they're part of a body, right? But they're sort of going about the function of their day. And then obviously they come together into a bigger and higher purpose. And that higher purpose is to be as like an organ, right? And then all the organs, again, they each have a very special purpose and they come together to do something big and special together. But they're not really aware of the fact that they're part of a body, right? And I was like, what if just like that, we are like a cell to an even larger body? Like, why do we assume that it stops with that? Like, I know this sounds completely deranged. I was like, but this is my thought process. I was like, we wouldn't if we were like a building block or a piece of an even larger thing, we wouldn't even know it. We would have no awareness. But this is the thing is that I like just like cells have a very special purpose that they're like born to carry that purpose out, but they're not aware of the fact that they're part of that purpose in a body. What if we are like cells in a bigger body? And then I started thinking, this is like my galaxy brain thought. I was like, I started thinking about outer space, and I started thinking about how outer space almost looks like these like cells, or almost looks like these sorts of organelles inside of a larger thing. And I was like, what if, how it has like the craziness. What if it has, you see the cytoplasm and everything is floating around in cytoplasm, which is just like this sort of liquid, and there's all these little pieces. I was like, what if the planets are like organelles and then the galaxy, the space is like cytoplasm? And then it's like, it keeps going, it's like, you know what I mean? Then all the humans are part of like, almost like the quote unquote cell or organelle that is Earth. And then you keep zooming out bigger and bigger. And what if this is all just a cell of an even bigger creature? And this is the other thing is, how cells one day, do you know how cells, like it's not like they just appear one day. Like one day they're just alive and they're just doing things and they're just like existing, right? And the cells have no idea why, but it's because some larger creature, something so much bigger than they could even comprehend, gave birth, right? Like like human beings, we give birth, and because we give birth to new creatures, then like all the matter comes together to make cells and to make another human. So it's almost like the big bang of the cells, right? The big bang have a cells where the cells have a big bang where all of a sudden they just spontaneously appear, and their life is like full of deep purpose for this like larger creature, you know, but they don't know that they're doing it for a larger creature. They don't know that their purpose is fulfilling something for that, right? It's just that that's just their life. That's just what they are, right? So then it's like, what if, we're like, why are we in this? Like, why are we in this floating sort of weird little thing with all these objects? And then like we just have these lives that are so complex and sort of like unique and interesting and full of meaning. And it's like, why? Why is this happening? And why did our universe just spontaneously appear and like all this different stuff? Like, what if a bigger creature just gave birth, and then because of that, like we are existing? Something that can probably never be proven. But I was just thinking about that today because I was reading my little new science magazine, whatever it's called. And I was reading about how we got black holes kind of wrong. Let me pull it out. It's New Scientist. Do black holes really exist? It's the 4th of October 2025 copy of New Scientist. And I was just on my way home and I was reading this. I was thinking, I have another video where I was talking about what I think God is, or like my relationship to God. And then they were talking about in the beginning about in this article about some things in cosmology may simply be unknowable. Why is there something rather than nothing? What lies outside the universe? What is inside a black hole? As I was talking about that in my video about like what I thought God was. And so then I just started thinking about this again, and I thought about this before, like way earlier, and then I was just thinking about this and being like, dude, the world is so trippy. But that's my thinking. I'm like, I do fully believe that every single creature on Earth has this purpose for a larger sort of organism of us, right? Obviously, we get very depressed when we feel like we don't have purpose. So I feel like having purpose is almost like part of what we want. We want to have purpose in the world, right? But I'm like, maybe as it goes up and up, the complexity of what that purpose entails is even more complex, because obviously, like these organelles, like all they're doing is like they're just moving a little bit of like liquid, they're moving waste, they're moving something, and it doesn't really seem like that big of a deal, but it's everything to them, right? That's all they're there for. And then you get even bigger, and it's like it's doing something so much more complex and specialized, and it's just going up and up in complexity as you go up. But at each point, obviously hearts don't know that they're part of a body, but to them it's everything that they pump blood. It's all they do all day every day. And if they don't if they don't fulfill their purpose, then the rest of the body is impacted, right? And I'm like, what if it's going up in complexity? These are my random thoughts. What if it's just going up in complexity and our consciousness? Because I am very spiritual, and I was talking in that video about how I do feel like there's a design to the world, and there's a design to everything that we do, and that we're just part of these sort of fractals that we can't see, and we're just carrying out the design of these fractals, you know? And just that's kind of like cells. They're just sort of born into this purpose. And I'm like, what if we are also like these sort of cells of a larger thing? Because why would we think it would just randomly stop at us? I guess because like we're just these sort of contained creatures, but then again, it's like, I don't know. Why would we think that's like for example, if the nucleus was just like, okay, the nucleus, it's like that's a real thing, and the rest of it is like not really that. Or like, it just, I feel like it just keeps going up and up and up like that, you know? And we're probably part of some larger body, and we're like, why are we here? How did we just start? And like that's probably what cells would think too, or like hearts, or if they could speak or if they could say something. It's like, why if we were randomly manifested? And it's like, well, because somebody gave birth, and it's something bigger than you, but you're part of it, and it's very important that you carry your purpose out in the world. So yeah, look at this. Doesn't it, I mean, obviously this is this is a fake image, like this is like obviously photoshopped to look all neat and stuff. But I don't know, it's kind of looking like a little, well, who knows? But that's just my random little thing that I like randomly think about from time to time. And then I'm like, what can be done? What can I say? But it does kind of look, I mean, obviously these are fake images, but it does kind of look like a sort of organelles floating in cytoplasm. All right, have fun thinking about that today. Oh, here's the most, okay, wait, I forgot to see the most, like, the most, I don't know, crazy part of the whole thing that I was thinking about, right? I was thinking about manifestation and prayer, right? This is the thing, is that if we start to get dehydrated, it's almost, this is probably so unscientific. This is just like my little rumination thought. If okay, it's not that obviously cells can't necessarily manifest, right? But cells have purpose. And when our cells start to get dehydrated, obviously we start to get signals, right? We start to get this signal that we're dehydrated, right? So it's almost like our body parts can almost speak to our us, right? Can almost speak to the higher consciousness version of them, or the thing that they're big, like they're a small part of a big thing. And it's not like our cells can be like, hey, like let me call you up, I'm gonna talk to you, right? But they can almost communicate with us and communicate their needs. If they have some kind of intense need, it's almost as if they can communicate with us, right, through signals and things. I was like, and it's in the best interest of us, obviously, to give to that body part what it needs. Doesn't mean that it gets it immediately, right? Like, obviously, sometimes we're really dehydrated or something, and we're like, please, can we drink water or something? Like, it's like you start to feel really dehydrated, and you're like, well, I'm gonna ignore that because I'm kind of like, I'm not in the mood to get up and get water. But I was thinking about us and how like we pray for the things that we need to fulfill our purpose in life. Like, okay, I'm praying to God, please let me finish my paper, please, please, please. I just want to finish this stupid paper, and so I can fulfill my purpose, because I feel like the strong sense of purpose that this is what I meant here to be here to do. This is what I want to do with my life. All this stuff. So I'm begging, like, please let me finish. I'm like begging you. It's like almost like I'm this cell in this larger thing, and eventually I feel like the world gets our, okay, I know this is sounding crazy. It's like the world gets our signal because it's in the highest good. If you have a purpose, it's in the highest good of like the larger body that you're into, the larger consciousness that you're in, to sort of return or give you the things that you need to fulfill that purpose, because your purpose is a small part of that big thing, of like big piece of them. This is my crazy theories. I have all these little crazy theories about like God or the universe, or whatever, that I'll just be thinking about. But I feel like a lot of people pray, or a lot of people have some kind of relationship like that. They manifest, they pray. Not everybody's into it, not everybody believes in it, but people really swear by it, obviously, myself included. I do feel like often my prayers are answered, or the things that I really need are sort of returned to me. And again, just being silly, but I do kind of feel like it's almost like that bigger consciousness version of us has it. It's not like it listens to us per se, but it almost, it's in the purpose of it. It's in the favor of it to return, to give us the things that are part of that bigger purpose that we serve in the world. If you serve a bigger purpose and you're asking for that, I feel like my prayers that are answered the most are prayers that have to do with my highest purpose in the world, or what I perceive it to be. Yeah, like I really wanted to go down this route. I really wanted to be a neuroscientist. I really wanted to sort of create some science that would solve this problem for women. I wanted to do the science of recovered memory, and it's like I had, from nothing, I got all of this, So I feel almost, if something is deeply within our aligned with our purpose, it's almost the same. I feel like it's the same thing as when your cells are dehydrated. It's not like your cells are literally speaking to you, but you feel that call and you feel that pull to give yourself the things that cell needs. Like, okay, I'm gonna drink some water then, right? It's like almost your body speaks to you. A lot of people feel like our bodies speak to us, or our bodies can also communicate to us the things that are wrong. Even, for example, if you don't consciously see that you have trauma, but your body will make it known, right? I don't know. I feel like it's almost as if we are these small parts of a big thing, and we can almost make it known to the parts of us that are bigger than us, that we need something and we are in dire need of something. It doesn't mean that they're gonna do it right away, because that's the thing, is that even if like my body's like, please, I'm so dehydrated, sometimes I suck at drinking water. Like, I'm like, oh, I forget to drink water, right? So it doesn't mean that we get everything right away, but like over time you do get it, right? And it's like, I don't know, that's just it was just my I don't know if it's silly, but it was just my little theory I was thinking of one time when I was looking at the cells, and I was just like, maybe weird. Like, why would we assume that it stops at us anyways? But maybe someone has an answer for that. I don't know. Hello, we're back. I was just studying, and I'm gonna give you updates on this meeting that I had, on some shifts that I'm gonna be making. Well, first of all, I was just studying, and I think my least favorite thing about studying is that I get so, even if it's not even like it's not a big thing that I'm working on, I get so tense. Like I I feel like the minute I start studying or reading or anything, the adrenaline goes from here to like here. And I'm like all hunched over like this. And like, I don't know. I think that's my least favorite thing about studying. Like every time I'm done, like literally like my whole back hurts and like all this stuff. It's like, oh, for no reason. Like it's not even a stressful thing. Like I'm just enjoying myself, but I think I just get really, really focused. But anyways, so I did have this meeting and it went pretty well. I got some really good advice essentially. So this person that I met, obviously like it wasn't their level, like their area of expertise, but she gave me some really, really good sort of perspective that I she would have as a researcher. So for example, she was interested in like the study that I really want to base everything sort of off of. She was like, "Well, it's a bit old. Is that okay?" I don't know. And then she was suggesting that I find like some more updated ACH papers because mine are kind of old at this point. Which I was just doing. I haven't read any yet, but I was just finding some more. But what she suggested that I do is write a sort of like a report, like a little report saying in detail every single thing that I kind of want to do and what everything means, like almost just like a report of like almost like trail my entire line of thinking down, like down, 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 everything that I'm thinking and exactly why I wanted, like my rationale for everything that I want to do. And she very kindly offered to look it over. However, I was also thinking that it's kind of at a good time because I have to do an empirical project for my grad school work. Like I have to do some kind of project. And I was planning on keeping it simple and just working with a project that was already I feel like actually, you know what's funny is that I went into my degree thinking like this master's program thinking, okay, I'm just gonna sort of chill out and just sort of do like just exactly what I need to do. Like I'm not gonna go like over the top as I sometimes want to do because I was like I don't know, sometimes I just feel like I guess I just wanted to have a good year. I was like, I just want one good year. I've been working really hard and I was like, let me not overdo it at school and all this stuff and then I have that time on the side for myself for my project. However, I guess I don't know, subconsciously I mean, it's not that much of a difference, but I was like, "Oh, I'm in intro to stats." I already kind of took that, but I'll just take it again anyways, like it doesn't matter. And then I got to school and I had for some reason there's a glitch where I was put into this intro to into the mailing list or whatever for the intermediate stats class. And in mentioning that to the one of the professors that I went to, like the first professor I went to who was just giving me like sort of giving me the rundown on how my program works, she was like, "Do you want like sort of do you want to do it?" And then I was like, "You know what? Maybe I do." Because she was like, it's not that different. You're just learning a coding language instead of doing it just like straight up." And I thought, that's the one thing that has really been missing from my applications for research assistant positions. I feel like it really hampers me that I don't have like that I don't know how to do that sort of statistical analysis stuff. So I was like, why not? And it would be good for me. So I'm learning R and what's the other one? Verse, which is in R. So yeah, and it's actually I like it. I feel like I would have found it too hard if it weren't for the fact that all summer I've been playing around with Nango and I think I just got used to what that those kinds of programs look like and coding look like and everything. And I feel like I almost like the layout of R is kind of reminding me of Nango and it's not intimidating to me. I just feel good about it. So I'm actually glad. I almost feel like it's easier than the I feel like it's easier than the because I had to take the normal statistics class per day and I was getting kind of lost because there was just a lot of numbers on the screen. But I was like, R is just it's like apparently just like a giant calculator. So it's like it's not that hard. But Anyways, and now I'm thinking I was just gonna do, just sort of do a project that's already somebody else's. And when I went to speak to this teacher, this professor, she was like, well, if you want to do your own project, just from scratch, you always have that option. Just let us know. And then, but make sure to do that soon. And I was like, absolutely not. In my head, I was like, definitely not. I'm not going to put myself through that stress and mess. I think I just, after I had such a torturous time with my undergraduate thesis back in school because I did it all through like intense mental illness and then I couldn't finish it and I was like kind of annoyed that I put myself through that even though I was really grateful that I did it. But then I was like, you know what? I briefly considered sort of just passing this project along, but I was like, why would that work out? Like that's just kind of random. But then when I went to meet with this person who gave me this advice about writing that sort of little report and then sending out to people, I was like, I have so much done already with this project. I could just turn this into my empirical project. It's not really, the thing is, I don't have to get, like, for example, I don't have to get ethical approval for anything because it's on the computer. I don't have to, like, I don't need grant money. I don't need anything. I mean, maybe I don't think that I do. So I was like, it's not a bad idea. And then I'm killing two birds with one stone. Or if that doesn't work out, I need to write the report anyway. So I was like, why don't I just write it and then I'll just make it my empirical project. So let's see if that works out because that would be nice. Then I don't have to be like, oh, I'm doing this whole other thing and my project. It's like I'm just doing my project as part of school and I'm already way ahead because I already did like a bunch of research. I already did this and that. And then maybe I could even get my work done early for once and then it's out of my way. So that's the next thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start on that this weekend. I want to like bam, bam, bam. Like I want to get it like out of the way, done. So I'm probably gonna start that this weekend. It's not gonna be in this video. It might be in another video. Look at this. You can tell I've been working hard. But yeah, that's just been like a shift in my project. Let's see how that works out. And the nice thing too is that I had already almost started writing a rough draft. I'll just turn that rough draft into my it kind of like it works both ways where it's like that was meant to be sort of an introduction to my paper where it's like I can sort of start writing this report and then writing the report I've already gotten like part of the way towards the intro to my paper. So yeah, all right. Thank you for watching.